Just came back from the comic shop and I wanted to talk about the fantastic Rafael Grampa and his new book, Batman Gargoyle of Gotham, that he wrote, drew, and was colored by Mateus Lupus. So, first off, Rafael Grampa is one of my absolute favorite artists. He's one of the few guys that get the big two work that bring a real indie feel, and he's almost like a mixture of some of my favorites. Like he's got a little Jeff Darrow, he's got a little Paul Pope, a little Frank Quietly in him, kind of all blended. And to get his take on corporate characters like Batman is just so exciting and so cool when you go to the comic shop. I guess first and foremost, one thing that really separates him from the pack is his cartooning ability and his environments. His environments are simply incredible. Like this opening shot of the city with the signage and stuff. It's just the angles, the perspective. It's all so grounded and so realized that it can hold the reader's imagination. And you're going to watch these little figures move around in this world and believe that all this stuff is happening. And that can't go understated, like how important that is. And if you check out some of this environment work, it's so cool. And then when you get to his character work, you know, when you see some of these like cool, weird faces and whatnot, how well cartoon they are, how much characters and everything. It's like every corner and crevice of this universe is alive with these beautiful original takes. And it's just so interesting to look at, you know? And I don't know, I just love that about his work. You know, if you're not familiar with his stuff, I think he really hit the scene with Mesmo Delivery maybe in the late aughts, and that was with Ad House Books, and eventually Dark Horse picked it up. And I know he did The Golden Child with Frank Miller, which I didn't like as much. I thought his style was a little brushier, a little more he had a little more blobby black inks than the controlled dots that he usually does for the lighting. His lighting's fantastic, but that felt a little bit sloppier. I think he was like doing. It looked like to me he was using a little bit of like brushy stuff instead of the more technical stuff on that. But yeah, man, these environments are great. I really love this opening shot of Batman, how he like entered from the dark the first time you see him, and he kind of grabs people out of the shadows when they're fighting. I thought that was fantastic. And then that shot when you first see him in his full outfit, in his full costume, is just so cool. The design, I mean, Raphael Grampa's ability to design is off the charts. Like he makes Batman look cooler than he's looked almost ever. And, you know, so many people have these wonderful takes, but man, do I love his take? You know, yeah, it just looks fantastic. I love the back of his cowl. I love the kind of pants he's got on, the belt, the cape, the way he renders it all, the way he lights it is just so cool. In this particular story, he's come up with this new villain, and he's kind of like this like violent Looney Tune character from the 40s or 50s. He's kind of inspired by those cartoons, and I thought it was really cool because it almost instantly feels like he was always there in the lore of Batman villains, you know? Like he feels like he fits in because he's just kind of odd and strange and inspired with a cool aesthetic. And if you read Mesmo Delivery, you could see some of that signage and kind of quirky cartoony stuff. And it's cool that he brought that aesthetic to a singular character and kind of defined him. I thought that was cool. The lighting, of course, is fantastic with his work. The cartooning is great. Something I really love with this after this fight scene was this great explosion. There's two elements to it. There's the big boom, and that's always hard to do because, like, what do you define? It's kind of blobby clouds. You're relying on the colorist. But then this pullback shot where you can kind of hear it go poof in the distance, I thought was really great. I thought that was super cool. Something that Rafael Grampa does really well too is this, and I'm sure you've seen it in his stuff, is he's so aware of foreground, like leading the eye in on a foreground shot, like this police tape with Commissioner Gordon. He does that over and over again. Something I really liked about the story, writing wise, was this feels like a detective story, almost like the new Batman movie, where Batman and Commissioner Gordon are kind of on a team and the other cops are wary of him. seeing the dead body and the puncture wounds, and these guys going on this investigation is kind of super cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. There's some, being a Batman story, there's some clunky parts, and there's like this part where Batman sticks two fingers in the guy's eyes and he says, "You're blinded now" or whatever. But then Batman has to say, "Lucky you'll heal up," and that almost feels like editorial stepped in and said, "Hey, you can't have him gouge somebody's eyes out. He's Batman." So Batman's got to reword it in the next panel to fix that and be like, "He'll heal up, but he'll remember this." Like some of that is just kind of corporate comics, whatever. There's this really cool shot of Batman. Oh, something I loved in the story was, and then they kind of neutered it too, like where Batman's tired of Bruce Wayne. Like he's more Batman than Bruce Wayne. He's more committed to Batman, and he says Batman needs a full time protector. And Alfred's like, you can't kill Bruce Wayne, and he's like, too late. And they flash to these computer screens, and it's all newspaper articles that Bruce Wayne's dead. And I'm like, man, this is cool. Like, this is something we haven't seen or something I haven't seen. And I'm like, wow, Bruce Wayne's going to be dead in this universe. And that's super cool. Just because it turns the old tropes of Batman on its head a little bit. But then later on in the comic, they say, like, the paper's going out not until next Wednesday, and they kind of neuter that moment. They kind of pull back on it, and that almost feels corporate-y as well. Like someone came in and said, "Hey, we can't do that." They saw the art and they're like, "That's cool, but say it's not coming out till Wednesday because you can't really do that." Something I loved was like this serial killer board and the detective-y nature of this. I feel like we're going on an investigation with Gordon and Batman, and we're gonna get to unwind. This feels like it's gonna be a meaty story, and I like that. It's not just him jumping around and posing and beating up bad guys. This feels like Raphael's really thought about how the mystery's gonna unfold with this villain, and how it ties into Batman and whatnot. Here's like the super cool shot of Batman standing here, and he says, "I'm outside the laws that protect the corrupt," right? And I feel like his follow up line. Anyway, the pattern of wounds corresponds to the energy points in the human body. The killer's sending a message. Like I feel like that should have been like a separate beat, or like almost in scene and cut to something else, then come back, because like him standing there and stoically telling Commissioner Gordon what's up, and then in the same breath saying, "Anyway, back to this," like a guy standing next to me in a big cowl saying, "I'm above everything." Anyway, without a break in between was kind of a little clunky, but I thought it was humorous. Man, the art is just super cool in this. I mean, Batman, has he ever looked cooler? I don't know. Uh, I just love it, man. It looks great. The villain's super cool. He's always dark and kind of has that weird aesthetic from the cartoons he likes. Again, Batman on this building looks great. There's this bit where Commissioner Gordon's caught off guard when, or not Commissioner Gordon, Alfred's going to go help out Batman, do a little investigating into the archives of this cartoon and kind of figure out the history of the creator and the people interested in this particular cartoon and the villain that the character's basing himself off of. I don't know. I feel like Alfred would have been a little more prepared, because she says about that awful thing that happened with at the school or something like that, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that awful thing. I don't care. I still want the archives." But I feel like Alfred would have done his research. I mean, he's the one helping put the Batcave together and helping Bruce Wayne, and that felt a little out of character to me. Something that he constantly does well, and something that I got to remember as an artist to do, and I think all artists should remember to do, is pushing the foreground elements, just like that Commissioner Gordon's tape, and then this chain link fence in this prison. It just sets such a cool, or these pipes with these files. It just really sets a cool tone in the cinematography element to all the shots. And then look at the cartooning, like on this guy smoking a cigarette, or Commissioner Gordon. They just look, super awesome. That fully realized world, from the environments to the atmosphere to the cinematography to the cartoony nature of the characters, to the finish, the refined lines, the lighting, the design, the story care. Like you feel like you're immersed in this world. Like I always say this about Mobius, but he has an imagination so big that he can hold your imagination within his in his stories. And I think that's the highest honor I could ever give a creator. And I think Rafael Grampa does that so well. You know, the greats do that. The Quietly, the Darrows, Mobius, Art Adams. Those guys have that thing that makes you want to walk around and see the X-Men like they see them, or Shaolin Cowboy in a fight scene the way Jeff Darrow sees them. And sometimes styles can be too pulled back for me personally, and they don't have that thing that can hold you, or the backgrounds fall apart, or the cinematography falls apart. But the guys that understand the dimensions of a room and how the characters move through them and the different ways they walk and talk and gesture, that's a whole realized world, you know? And that, when it's done at this level, man, how are you not along for the ride? Like this super cool Batman with these super cool characters, this interesting villain, this story. I don't know, man. I give this a, and then you get to the Batmobile, and it's, they call it the Blind Machine in this. I guess they haven't called it the Batmobile yet, but it's a great design as well. Yeah, it's just it looks like it's going to be a really fun Batman story, and man, am I along for the ride. You get this, you know, crazy villain, and they go into his, they find the old sets and archives of the puppets, and Batman gets hit with an anvil, and I don't know, it just kind of fits in that Batman villain rogues gallery. You know, he's, it's almost like he's one of these guys that I've never seen from the animated series yet, or he would already have his episode. So I think he did great there. Again, with the foreground, with these bars from Arkham Asylum, right? Like he just pushes it all the time when he can, and it just sets the scene so well. It's something we've all got to remember to do more in our work. Again, Batman just looks so cool. Again, with foreground element, Batman's grappling hook lines coming right at you. Super cool car. And just going out with interesting shots, you know, like this is, you look at that, that's a guy going through old newspaper files in an old storage room. And there isn't a corner of that room that's not realized, from the grain on the wall to the stickers on the boxes to the old style computer slash whatever you call those things, the low angle. Like he's making that, which could be a boring shot or a challenging shot, super interesting, and always trying to hold your attention and giving you this realized world. So you can pull back and see the city and it's fully realized, and all the way down to a file and a label, the right kind of rolling chair, the wrinkles. It's like he knows the crevices, he knows the environment, he knows the atmosphere, he knows the lighting, he knows how the characters move, he knows how to design. It really is like an incredible achievement is what he's done here. Like I think it's really an incredible achievement. Of course, it's a story, and it's a corporate story, so there's going to be a clunky thing here or there where you got to work around this thing or that thing. But overall, man, I give it a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10. It's the comic I've been the most excited about coming out all year, and I feel like his cartooning since Mesmo Delivery, I think like Mesmo Delivery to this is like a refined Mesmo Delivery. I'm not going to post any examples, but in Golden Child, he had this kind of blobby ink, a little bit less refined line, and it was a little almost like a little brushier in some of where he would usually do tick marks and fades. This feels like you could see the progression from Mesmo to this, where the same type of cartooning, the same type of environment work, but sharper, higher focus, a higher processor. You know, went from a PS1 to a PS4 in this style. Yeah, I'm super excited about this. I love seeing guys with an indie flair take on corporate characters. We get that so rarely. So, you know, bravo to Rafael Grampa, and tip the hat to Mateus Lopez. Congrats to DC for being smart enough to give this guy free reign over a Batman story, because I think you're going to get an evergreen for years to come. So, yeah, excited for the rest of it. I can't wait for this to be in hardcover form. And I heard there's a black and white version too, which is going to be incredible. And I'll be getting both. So thanks for listening and thanks for watching. And let me know what you think about the comic in the comments. Check you later.